What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. On today's episode, we're going to break down the NBA retiring Bill Russell's number 6, and Alex Caruso will be the last Bull to wear number 6. We'll also talk about the update on Justin Lewis potentially tearing his ACL, and then we'll be breaking down as more information has come out about that practice that Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams were a part of with Paul George and many others. We'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So we're going to start off with the positive, go to some negative, and then kind of settle between the two, right? So first up, the NBA has decided to retire the number of Bill Russell league-wide. So number 6 is going to be retired. Players that currently wear number 6 are not going to be forced to stop wearing it. But once those players do leave those teams, they will not be able to wear number 6 anymore. That number 6 would then be retired by the team at that point, which means that Alex Caruso is going to be the last Chicago Bull to wear number 6. And so, what does that mean for Alex Caruso? Nothing. Let's be clear here. This is to honor Bill Russell. And this is something that after Bill Russell's passing, me and Pat over on Locked on Bulls had a pretty in-depth discussion about should the NBA retire his number. And then some people they just require it. Like, you have to honor them in that way. And Bill Russell is absolutely deserving of that honor. And I'm glad that the NBA made this decision. I've said it before. This whole upcoming NBA season is going to be in remembrance of Bill Russell. They're going to do a lot of things for Bill Russell, and this was the first step in that. You're going to see a lot of things about Bill Russell over the course of this NBA season, and it's well-deserved for those who know what he meant to the game, what he meant to sports in general, especially for Black people. You can't argue it. He deserves to have this accomplishment. It's not a question, and I'm glad that the NBA went ahead and did it. I'm glad that they're doing it immediately, that it wasn't one of these things where it's like it waited a year or so. Bill Russell deserved to be honored this season, today, and I'm glad that they made that decision for Bill Russell. And, like I said, everything that he means to NBA, everything that he's meant to sports, everything that he's accomplished, everything he did to pave the way, it needed to be done. And, it's good to honor players that have such a cultural impact outside of just basketball. And I'm glad that it's going to be done. Now, so with that being said, I just figured we'd go over how many Chicago Bulls players have worn number 6. And surprisingly, it's been 15 players to wear number 6. And, so I'm going to go through all those 1967. The first one was Gary Ward, Jim Burns, Ken Wilburn, Aaron Mueller, Bob Kaufman, A.W. Holt, Brad Sellers, Trent Tucker, Matt Stigija, don't even know who that is, Larry Kettner, Khalid Reeves, Travis Best, Chris Jeffries, Randy Holcomb, Shannon Brown, Ronald Murray, Keith Bergens, Cristiano Felicio, and Alex Caruso. So those are the Bulls that have worn number 6 over the course of the Chicago Bulls history. Again, Alex Caruso will be the final member of the Chicago Bulls to wear number 6. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And this topic I wish was more positive. It's not. So it was released late last night that there's fear that Justin Lewis may have torn his ACL. He suffered a knee injury, so that's clear. The extent of that knee injury is going to be determined. Don't be surprised if today, and maybe it may not be throughout the weekend. We'll see, but we're going to get an update pretty soon on Justin Lewis and if that is actually a torn ACL. Now, this is unfortunate for a player that the Chicago Bulls came to a verbal agreement on a 2-way contract the night of the draft. And so, they had big optimism around Justin Lewis. Now, I do think that Justin Lewis was going to spend most of this season in the G League, right? I don't think there was really any question of where Justin Lewis was going to spend most of this upcoming season, with maybe getting some flash minutes in the NBA level. But with that being said, unfortunately, it's, this knee injury, no matter what, it seems like it's going to be pretty significant. So, expect him to miss some significant time, and maybe we don't see him until next season. And, that's unfortunate for a player that's, really young. His summer league numbers, he didn't have the greatest summer league, 7.6 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, a little under a block per game, and 22 and a half minutes per game in the Las Vegas Summer League. But, coming in, Justin Lewis, 6'7", 235 pounds. You saw the fit that he could potentially have on this roster if he were to really flash some things. And it sucks that he's going to have a year taken away from him potentially if this is a torn ACL. But hopefully, if the Chicago Bulls saw something in him, they wanted to they saw enough to bring him in. He was expected on the list after the draft of the most highly coveted undrafted free agents. I believe he was number 2 on that list. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe number 3. And so, it sucks. And it sucks that for a team that we keep talking about how health is important, that we're talking about another injury before the start of the season. But where this does come in is that players like Marco, players like Derrick Jones Jr., players like Javonte Green, they were all going to get minutes ahead of Justin Lewis, even Dalen Terry. But that future is still probably bright. And, this is one of the things that, Bulls fans had did. And, I shied away from, and I didn't even like the conversation around it is, saying, oh, well, thank God we didn't draft EJ Liddell because, look, he tore his ACL. That karma comes back around. And, unfortunately, suffering a injury during a workout, it's not even in a game. It really does suck. And, hopefully the Bulls don't cut him. Or if they do, maybe he still comes back when that knee's all healed up and things like that. But unfortunately, man, it's the nature of the game. It's stuff that happens, and Justin Lewis is a competitor. Everything that we heard about him, hopefully this is he comes back from this even better, and he's still going to have a bright future ahead of him if he works. It was his NBA career was always going to be based around the work that he put in, earning that spot. And I know some Bulls fans maybe had thought that he was going to have more of a role than I think what he was ever going to have realistically. But it still does hurt to have a prospect. And especially this coming a day after the news of McCord Maker signing with the Washington Wizards, because you would think that if the Bulls do decide to go elsewhere with that contract, that it could have went to maybe McCord Maker. But, prayers up to Justin Lewis, hopefully for a speedy recovery, a full recovery as well from that ACL surgery if he does end up needing that. And hopefully we see him back in a Bulls uniform, whether that's in Summer League next season, whether that's in G League later on in the season, if he is able to come back and maybe the injury isn't as severe. Whatever it is, bright future still for Justin Lewis. He's going to be a player that's going to put in work, and don't be surprised if you hear his name sooner rather than later still. And don't forget Justin Lewis. But yeah, it definitely does suck as we're still waiting on updates on Lonzo Ball's knee, and Zach LaVine has also had knee surgery this offseason, even though not as detrimental as a torn ACL by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully Justin Lewis has a good and speedy recovery as quick as possible. He attacks it and he comes back with that same competitiveness that got him the deal with the Chicago Bulls. Now let's go into our last topic for today. Slim pickings today too, by the way. Look, we're in the dead of off season, but we did get update on what exactly happened. So I know we had some pictures of Paul George guarding Patrick Williams. That practice, we knew Dalen Terry was there. We got some pictures, but we now have more names on who was down there during that practice. So apparently it was Paul George, Pascal Siakam, who are both people that I would love the fact that both Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams are working out with. Patrick Beverley was also there, and Kenyon Martin Jr., who I did talk about an episode or two ago on him requesting a trade from the Houston Rockets and if the Bulls should be interested there. So, the fact that a lot of our hopes in this team's progress does hinge on its young players being ready to go early, taking leaps, blossoming into big roles, and Patrick Williams working in the type of offseason that he has. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday with him and Dalen Terry. The type of offseason that he has hopefully brings him along a little bit quicker, and we see a Patrick Williams that is ready to go at the start of preseason, that is just coming into training camp with even more confidence, even more, a better work ethic, everything that he's learned from this summer. And Dalen Terry still soaking up all that. I love when you look at players like a Paul George and a Pascal Siakam. You can pick worse. I hesitate to call them mentors, right? But you can pick way worse players for Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams to work out with, both long, lengthy players who give things on both sides of the ball, contributions. So it's great, right? It's great. Paul George and Pascal Siakam are two of the best wings in the NBA, right? Capable of averaging over 20 points per game themselves. So having them work with this, having these two young players that are both 20 years old, right? Patrick Williams soon to be 21, put in this amount of work in the offseason is going to bode well for the Chicago Bulls overall. And I, for one, am super excited about it. I love to see players put in work. I love to see players take this offseason and not just use it to go on vacation, not just use it to chill and get ready for the season. Patrick Williams has been working all season. And you know who he learned that from? DeMar DeRozan. That is another player who lives, breathes, and everything basketball. So because of that, it's good to have these young players around players like this as they continue to learn, grow, and soak in the game. Dalen Terry, like I said before, I said on yesterday's episode, I don't mean to gush over players so much before I actually see them play and see what their role is going to be. But everything I learned from Dalen Terry, everything that I hear about him, the fact that he's inserted himself and put himself to soak up knowledge from some of the better players in the NBA and players that are going to play, that have played and been in similar positions of him, it's going to be good. And for both of them, Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams are two of the key important pieces of the Chicago Bulls' future. As long as they're on this roster, they're betting on them. And you want to see them come along. Could Dalen Terry have more like an Ayo Dosunmu type rookie season where he comes in and has at least some skill that gets him minutes early? It still remains to be seen. I have a lot of questions over how Billy Donovan is going to work out this rotation and is eventually going to shake out. But Dalen Terry, in his first offseason as being an NFL. I said that yesterday too, I think. An NBA player has really set himself up very nicely to come in his rookie season ready to go. You don't hear a lot about what rookies do. After the summer league, it's kind of quiet until training camp. Dalen Terry's worked out with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and all the Bulls down there in LA. He had a great summer league until, the injury and, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. He's had big Drew League games and I know I don't look too much in the Drew League, either positive or negative. But again, keeping playing basketball like DeMar DeRozan does. DeMar DeRozan plays basketball all year. And him and Patrick Williams have done that all this summer as well. So I think that this is going to be a good thing. And Dalen Terry is one of those rookies that very much like the Joakim Noah. And I know I didn't have the show, so you guys don't know. I was pissed when the Bulls drafted Joakim Noah. I don't remember who I wanted in that draft. There was another player that I wanted in the draft, and I don't remember now. It's over a decade later. I'm old, 35 years old. My memory isn't what it was. But I remember that I was extremely disappointed by the Joakim Noah draft pick. I didn't see it. I didn't know what type of player he was going to turn into, the shot, everything. And then Joakim Noah is now my favorite Bull of all time. I realize he's not the best Bull of all time, but he is my favorite Bull of all time. Dalen Terry, you guys saw my live reaction to Dalen Terry being picked. I didn't know much about the kid. I didn't expect him. I covered 28 draft prospects, and Dalen Terry was not one of those guys. And as I'm learning more about him, as I've taken the time to familiarize myself with his game, with the person, his work ethic, I'm just getting more and more excited about this guy. And I can't wait to see him on the basketball court and see what type of player he turns out to be for our team. I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited about the offseason that Patrick Williams has had as well. And I hope that they're ready. And by a leap, I don't necessarily mean Patrick Williams to make this leap and all of a sudden be this 18-point per game scorer. But I mean just refining the things he's done, be a little bit more aggressive, a lot more aggressive, right? Take better chances of his opportunity. We see he shoots the ball at a solid clip, but do that more often. That's what I'm excited to see from the Chicago Bulls team, and I'm so happy for this offseason and the players that they got to practice with. Even when you look at this, Patrick Beverley, who Chicago native, shout out, Chicago players are a different breed, but again, a fierce competitor on that basketball court. And he does a lot of jaw jacking, which I think we're going to see from Dalen Terry as well over the course of his NBA career. Nothing but excitement for me for these players for this upcoming season. I can't wait till training camp opens. We're getting closer and closer. The season schedule is going to be released soon. I predicted about a week ago that it'll probably be about 2 weeks before we get it. So hopefully in the next week and a half or so, we get that NBA schedule released. We know the nationally televised schedule, things like that is going to give us a lot to break down. But as we head closer to the season, you can feel it. And you just get more excited. And all this doubt being thrown towards our Chicago Bulls, throw it. Keep throwing it, because we're going to prove you wrong, just like we did at the start of last season. We did have a fall off after the All-Star break. Hopefully we don't suffer that as well. Let me know down below, what do you guys feel about Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams' summer? And do you think, and I know I've kind of asked this before, but I really want to hear you guys sound off on this. The rookie Dalen Terry, what type of role do you think he's going to have in his rookie season? Do you think it's going to be similar to Ayo Dosunmu, where he's going to earn those minutes early and then continue to see that role develop over the course of the season? Let me know what you guys think about that one down below. Thank you so much for being the best part of Chicago Bulls Central. I still have not found my glasses. I still can't see shit. But I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you're following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a text and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.